Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 472 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week. Kicking things off with the owner of MTGGoldfish, Richard. How are you this fine Monday, Richard?
Good morning, Seth. Spent the weekend browsing basic land art. I was very hyped. Very hyped.
What's your favorite? Did you find anything good that you hadn't seen before?
I've gone full hipster, so I started appreciating like normal set, non-full art basics. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot of beautiful forests. And I was looking up like foil prices, and I was like, which ones are old border or not? So ever since Seth pulled out the gold border hipster lands, I'm like, oh, he's onto something here. Everyone has full arts nowadays. We gotta go.
Yeah.
We gotta go full hipster.
Anyway, we got another co-host in Krim. Good morning, Krim. How are you today?
Yo, pretty good. It's pouring rain, but regardless, this past weekend I was able to make my way over to Frankensons, and I was able to pick up the anime art Cyclonic Rift and Ristic Study, thus completing my anime art collection.
Are they like the special foil $700 ones, or just the normal ones?
God, no.
God, no, just the $100 ones, please.
No,
just
the
$100 one.
non-foil.
That would be silly.
Yeah, don't be ridiculous.
Anyway, today we got some interesting topics. So WotC did a big stream this past week about Aftermath. There's some Hasbro financial news, some news about upcoming sets that we want to get to beyond boosters. So we're going to talk about that. There's some lying in CEDH stuff we wanted to get into and see what people thought about that. And then we got some spoiler action, a special Secret Lair drop, and also we're starting Fallout spoilers. So that's the plan for today. Before we get into it, though, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit, and Card Conduit's the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So if you ever get tired of the hassles of buy listing, you can skip them with Card Conduit. You can use their curated service and send in as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to do a bit of work, you can use the sorted service where you list and sort your cards in advance and pay just a 2% fee. Either way, you're going to get a detailed report with the results and a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can even get another 10% off by heading over to cardconduit.com/MTGGoldfish. Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So thank you to Card Conduit for supporting the show. Oh yeah, before we get into the topics, Krim, you're going to be at MagicCon Chicago this weekend, right?
I believe we both will be.
Yes, and I will be there too. So if you're going to Chicago, we'll be hanging around, playing games. We'll be at the Ultimate Guard booth for a bit. So swing by, say hello, maybe get in a game. So would love to meet everyone if you're going to be in Chicago this weekend. But anyway, let's get into our topics, and let's start with what I think is the biggest news. So last week, Hasbro had to report their full year of 2023 excuse me, earnings or revenue, and it was bad. Like, it was real bad. Overall, their revenue declined 15%. Technically, WotC was up a little bit, but their other segments like consumer products down 19%, entertainment down 31%. They're losing millions of dollars. So basically, Hasbro had a really bad year, although Magic itself did fine, although not like gangbusters. So on the same day that they had this bad news about Hasbro finances, there was an article quoting Hasbro CEO Chris Cox talking about Universes Beyond. And basically, the TLDR of this is Lord of the Rings was the best set of all time. It has already been the biggest selling set. They love that set because it made them a ton of money, like more than double what a typical Magic set would make. They made off of Lord of the Rings. So they're thinking, well, if that made so much money, we need to double down on Universes Beyond. So they announced that starting next year, 2 Lord of the Rings style tentpole Universes Beyond sets each year, which means a little bit less Magic theme stuff. We haven't really gotten the full breakdown of this. My assumption at this point is we get like the 4 standard sets of Magic, and then rather than Battle Bond or Commander Legends or sets like that, that's going to be replaced with another Universes Beyond set. We know we have Final Fantasy and then Marvel coming up, and then who knows what in the future. What do you make of this, Richard? Like, such a big announcement. What do you make of all this? Hasbro's finances and also doubling down on Universes Beyond.
Show me the money. All right, so we knew about Hasbro finances, okay? Because, like, remember we had, like, the big layoffs and, like, profits are down. This is not a big shocker, plus the economy's in the tanks. So this was all coming. The exact details were kind of laid out, but not really big news. The big news, I guess not really big news either, was that Lord of the Rings was a huge success and we're getting more of it. I think anyone could have seen this coming, right? With Lord of the Rings being so popular, making them more money, despite having like the increased licensing fees and all of that stuff, is like a huge thing. And it's just like easy money, right? You just got to cut a deal with whatever you believe the hottest IP is. And then like the set makes itself. Unlike, having to come up with a new plane, coming with new characters, figuring out how to ninja like Jace and Chandra into there or whatever, and then have some legendaries be relevant so you can sell them for commander. Like that's difficult, right? You just take someone's IP and be like, look, we know from the data that Spider-Man is the #1 character of all time, right? Therefore, he gets the chase card, right? Like it's super simple. So it's happening. The question is, will they be Lord of the Rings quality releases? Right? Because
That's my big question too.
you could have declared Doctor Who to be on the same level of Warhammer or something, right? Like theoretically, it's the same style release, but it was not received in the same way. How many of these IPs can stack up to Lord of the Rings, and how well can Wizards execute on it? Because the minute they do it poorly, everyone wants their head, right? So we'll see. Like I think Final Fantasy will do well. I think Marvel will probably do well. But then what? Like how many more IPs do you have before you run dry? So that's the question. And see how greedy they get. Like how much effort. Because like you can tell there were fans of Lord of the Rings on the set. Are there fans of whatever we're doing? Final Fantasy?
Yeah.
Marvel? Like
Yes.
what if all of Wizards is devoid? Like the Wizards design team itself does not have like true fans of those franchises to kind of drive it home, right? So we're gonna find that out really soon. And it'll be funny if there's a job listing. Like all you need to do is be like a hardcore Marvel nerd. That's your only that's the only thing you need to qualify. We need someone with in-depth knowledge of Marvel lore.
Oh.
Design the upcoming set. That's it. That's the job description.
My time has come.
Yeah, Grim's time has come. What do you think, Grim? Like, so we know that the big ones coming up, Final Fantasy, and then multiple Marvel sets. Are they on the level of Lord of the Rings? That seems like Hasbro actually just straight up said that. We think it'll have a similar uplift as it did for Lord of the Rings, and that's underlying a lot of our bullishness on the growth of Magic. They are counting on Final Fantasy and Marvel to be Lord of the Rings level bangers. Is that realistic? Are they in the same level, you think, as far as Universes Beyond sets?
I don't think Final Fantasy is. I enjoy Final Fantasy. I think it's great. I know, Richard, you're dying on the inside, but let's be
It's
real
true,
here,
though.
right?
It's true.
Right? Like I don't think, and like I don't even like Lord of the Rings, and I think that Final Fantasy is just not going to beat it. Marvel might be. I could see Marvel, but I don't know about Final Fantasy. But much like Richard had mentioned, even if let's just assume the best case scenario, these two are. I am curious to see what other titles they'll be putting out there, because eventually they're getting to their D-listers, right? And once they get to the D-listers, is that where their normal Magic set comes in? Because then, like, assuming like D-list IP, I don't want to sound a little down on the IP here of Magic's own IP, but like, I actually think that D-lister IPs, let's just go with randomly, they just decided they'd make, I don't know, Big Bang Theory, Secret, like Universes Beyond. I think that's about.
Yo, isn't that the greatest sitcom of all time?
I don't know about that, but like, I think that's
Wait
probably
till they're
on
like,
par
let's
with
get
Magic
washed
IP.
80s sitcom. Who's the boss?
Yeah. What is it? Three's Company, like, the universe is beyond, right? Like, there it is. Like, for me, I don't think that they can maintain it. I do think that if the goal is that every one of these sets is to hit Lord of the Rings success, I don't think that's possible. I think they obviously know that, but I think on average, more often than not, it will be probably somewhere significantly less than Lord of the Rings. They may be great sets. I may love some of the titles along the way. Like I love Evil Dead. I doubt that if they made an entire Evil Dead set, it would do as well as Lord of the Rings. So I don't know. I'm hoping I guess they're managing their expectations. I love Universes Beyond. I love Secret Lair. I've been unapologetic about it. So like the main thing is, if they're going from a point of view of making it so that they think these will be the same level of success, I don't think that's going to be possible.
Yeah. I think Final Fantasy is the tough one for me. I think I'm with Krim on that. Like, Final Fantasy is great or whatever, but if I think about, like, what if I asked my grandmother about a IP? Would she know what it was? Final Fantasy, I'm not sure she would. And Lord of the Rings, sure. Marvel, yes. Like, those are things that literally everyone knows. Final Fantasy is popular, but I don't know if it's part of the cultural zeitgeist the same way that, like, a Lord of the Rings is or a Marvel is. So it'll be interesting to see how well Final Fantasy does. I still think it'll be really good, but it might not quite be Lord of the Rings good. I think the other thing is Lord of the Rings had the One Ring, and that was a huge part of the hype for the set. Like, as Magic players, we love the set for other reasons, but it was that One Ring, the $2 million card that was bringing in these like Pokemon box openers. People, like, random people were cracking thousands of dollars of product to chase after the One Ring. Is that replicatable? Like, are we gonna have a one something to keep that hype going? Because I feel like if they don't do that, these sets will probably do worse by default just because they're missing a piece of the puzzle that made Lord of the Rings so popular.
I mean,
I got you guys.
Marvel is easy. Marvel, you just make Infinity Stone cards, and those are like 1 out of 1, and then together you get the special serialized gauntlet, and then boom, there it is. You've made. Not only did you make a 1-on-1 ring, you made 7 of them, but they're all different. They're not the same card. But
Oh, you thinking too hard, Krim. You just do like first edition Spider-Man.
Stop using Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the most overrated garbage hero.
All right, Doctor Strange.
Thank you, Richard.
You know, the Time Lord from the Marvel Universe, right?
Yeah.
The
You know what?
TARDIS.
I'll accept it.
That
I'll
doctor,
accept
right?
it. Whatever.
Okay, look, I pulled up Wikipedia of the highest grossing media franchises. First of all, the world has a lot of money, guys. There's a lot of money in a lot of these franchises. So here is a sneak preview of possible universes beyonds coming. Pokemon, 90 billion in revenue, by the way. Mickey Mouse and Friends, Winnie the
Oh,
Pooh,
God.
Star Wars, Disney
That's
Princess,
actually possible.
Ant-Man Man, Harry Potter, Barbie, now MCU. This is where MCU is. So we are down here. Call of Duty, right after MCU, shockingly. Batman, Hello Kitty, Spider-Man. Oh, MCU split out from Spider-Man. Okay, so Spider-Man himself is pulling it up. Transformers, Dungeon Fighter Online. What? Cars, Candy Crush, Ninja Turtles, Looney Tunes, Dora the Explorer, Pac-Man, The Lion King, Toy Story, James Bond, Peanuts, Paw Patrol, Avengers, Frozen, Space Invaders, SpongeBob, Warcraft, Despicable Me, Star Trek, Street Fighter, Rilakkuma, Monster Strike. So we could go on and on and on and on. The question is, how many align with kind of old boomer nerds? Like, I don't think Hello Kitty Universes Beyond is going to do
You can't do
well,
Paw
but
Patrol Universes Beyond. Like, no, Magic players just would not accept.
What
would not
if it
accept
brings
that.
in a whole new demographic, Seth? Look at the
I
excitement.
don't think
there.
Rilakkuma is
2-year-old
trying to appeal
demographic,
to the
yes.
boomers, right? Like, Rilakkuma is not appealing to the boomers. It may appeal to you, Richard, because I know you got giant Rilakkumas, but like,
Yo, realistically, they want my son to play Paw Patrol. Paw Patrol coming in hot. They setting up for the future.
Bluey?
Like, yo, son, you want to play Magic? Like, no.
What is this Garrick? But Paw Patrol. Like,
Son,
okay.
got him.
What is this card game with weird old rules? I'll play with you.
Interestingly, the top 2 on that list already have competing card games, which might make it tricky. Pokemon and then Disney, right? Like, is it even possible that there could be a universes beyond Pokemon or Disney with Lorcana and Pokemon existing?
I don't imagine Pokemon. I think they are very, very strict with their IP and who like I've heard some of the stories of like how a simple Pikachu or Pokemon has to be portrayed and like what kind of light it's in. And it's very, 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 very like strict. However, Disney, yeah, I can see them doing it. Like at this point now, Marvel is I've unfortunately had to accept recently I've become a what is essentially a Disney adult by proxy because Marvel. So, like, trust me, it was a tough pill for me to swallow, but I got over it. However, I do think because of Marvel going into Magic, why couldn't they? Why wouldn't they share their IP? It's a different game. Lorcana, kind of a bust of a game, but like I will say that regardless, they have their own, and why not tap into more of a card game market?
Yeah, I mean, we see it with video games. You see every Fortnite crossover. The characters have their own video game, right? But people are like, you know, you can play your game, you can play our game. it's free money. Like here, Mickey Mouse for everyone. I could totally see Mickey Mouse being in a Magic set. And you ask like what people clamor over. Like I don't know, Lorcana players are clamoring over like first edition Steamboat Willie, whatever, Sparkled, whatever Majig, like whatever. You can make something special all the time. And for characters especially, you can make a 1-of-1 for a character. You have the 1-of-1 Mickey Mouse, you're unbeatable.
Yeah.
The glass slipper.
One. Ooh, that would be a good one. All right, one more question about this before we hit up some other topics. What are the odds that this means Universes Beyond comes to Standard? I feel like it's trending that direction, right? We're getting 2 sets a year now rather than just 1. Isn't it so obvious to throw it into Standard, or do you think that they will avoid that just because they want to be able to print busted stuff and it would be too busted for Standard, and they want to be able to print One Rings and Bowmasters and like that level of cards, and they're just afraid of destroying Standard? What do you think, Grim? Are we going to get UB in Standard because of this?
I think we will get the cards available in a Standard selling booster pack, much like we did Brothers War, right? Transformers, yada, yada, yada. Will the cards themselves be legal to play? No, because I think they want these cards to probably be kind of multi-format, kind of non-rotating. They don't want it so that somebody who comes in and really wants to buy, I don't know, the next Bluey Secret Lair or Universes Beyond, to then get a deck into Standard and have to deal with what is a rotation. Unless maybe that's what the three-year rotation's for. So they have a longer time window to play with their Bluey Universes Beyond deck or their SpongeBobs. So I personally don't think they will be legal. They will be sold, or you can acquire them like how the Transformers cards were through a Standard pack. However, also, I do wonder, though, there's one thing that we have failed to mention that's on these lists of franchises, and they do sell and they do make money. And the one thing I've learned is, weebs, they move fast, they move efficient, and they buy in droves. Stores are afraid to admit they have One Piece cards because they're afraid people are running over, robbing them, and or just straight up buying them out for years in advance. Like I have a friend who tried to pre-order the next One Piece set. That's sold out, which it's not out yet. It's sold out by the time the current set came out. So you cannot pre-order it. So I am wondering, yes, it is partially in part because Bandai is the worst at printing quality, but on top, or like printing and matching demand. But on top of that, I mean, anime, right? Like anime is now mainstream. And again, if you want to take your D-list IP and make it relatively better, like Cyberpunk did and all that, you make it an anime, by the way. I'll just restate it for the 1,000th time. But on top of that, I will throw in that I think anime cards, if you want to do Universes Beyond, you give everybody Universes Beyond, I don't know, Mashal or even anything current, right? You can do anything like that. Jujutsu Kaisen, all of the Dragon Ball Z, good lord. Even One Piece. And I know those will sell. And have fun trying to acquire those cards. It will be impossible. At least not for a price under, like, I don't know, you probably more likely find the real One Piece than to be able to find the cards.
Wait, do you think is that true, Richard? Do you think that just like throwing any random anime into a Universes Beyond is just guaranteed banger? Like, or like a
One
good
Piece
anime,
fans
like
shambles.
But don't
yes.
say random.
Okay,
Don't
first
say
of
random.
all-
One Piece fans will find you and you will get
We
are
know it's a
pirates.
success. We know it's a success because they just throw random anime on stuff and people are like eating up Smothering Tithe, right?
Yeah, right?
But people
God,
see
assume,
people
don't think.
see One Piece TCG popping off, and they're like, "Wow, how do we make a card game like that?" And the answer should be Wizards at your door already, being like, "Look, we have the best card game system in the world, right? Sell us your IP, and we'll give you a One Piece, but better." So yes, I believe that's super easy. Now you just got to think of a franchise that Bandai has a ninja already, right? So like Dragon Ball gone, but like think of any like Evangelion Secret Lair done. I'm taking a second mortgage. I'm gonna get all the fancy foils, right? But like there are certain like iconic IPs, right? The reason One Piece succeeds is not because it's just a random anime, right? It's literally one of the top anime franchises, which we'd have
It's
to
a
figure out where it
Macy's
goes on this list.
Parade. They've got a
Yeah.
float at the Macy's Day Parade set. That's not a random anime.
that's
So like Pokemon,
Yeah,
Dragon
that's a
Ball, all
random
of those
parade.
things. You choose one who's willing to sell their IP for a good deal, and then Wizards gets at it. As far as standard, it'll definitely happen, but I don't think Wizards cares. Like Wizards is
Yeah.
not thinking like how to sell standard better, right? They're thinking how to get more money out of commander players. But I don't think they're going to have this in universe versus out of universe split. It's all Magic the Gathering to them. That's how they should be thinking, at least. So whatever they feel is appropriate, and chances are they want higher power level, which means it can't go into standard. So standard might be saved for that. The one thing working against kind of standard Universes Beyond haters is that that's the only digital platform, right? So if they want a digital presence, it needs to go through Arena, and standard is the way. I guess you could just dump it straight
Timeless.
to historic or timeless.
Timeless historic, yeah. I mean, they're
Yeah.
doing that with Modern Horizons 3, so I bet we see more of that, where they start adding some of these sets to Arena specifically for historic and timeless. Like, although I still think standard is something that probably happens eventually. I don't know if it'll happen like next year or whatever, but I do think that's not unrealistic that these sets end up in standard. I actually thought of one more question before we move on. Then we really got to move on. So a couple months ago, we talked about could Magic IP end? Like, could we ever have only Universes Beyond? Is this a step in that direction? The announcement that we're cutting one Magic theme set a year for another Universes Beyond, like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now, are we going to have, well, let's cut one more Magic set for another Universes Beyond? I see it as a possible step in that direction. I know WotC will deny it, but things change, right? WotC probably isn't thinking right now, oh, we'll get rid of Magic IP, but if these sets are all bangers, why wouldn't you do that? Like, if you're making twice as much money selling Lord of the Rings than you do selling Ravnica with detective hats, why wouldn't you sell more Lord of the Rings and make less Ravnica with detective hats?
Honestly, I don't see that ever happening. I think, or maybe it's like wishful thinking. I don't know. I'd like to believe that they wouldn't replace Magic IP entirely. Do I see them cutting maybe more original IP sets? Sure, I could see this starting off as, hey, we'll cut this, but they also need to remember that if they're going to be increasing the number of Universes Beyond sets, they are really burning through all because they could spread out like 30 titles over a batch of years. But if now they're turning that whatever drop rate up, they are really gonna be running out of IPs. Then what? We actually will be getting, I don't know, like Jiffy
back to
Lube
those-
Secret Layers or they'll have
Those
even
80
worse
sitcoms.
even worse than 80 sitcoms and Jiffy Lube. They might have to actually increase more of their original IPs. So like
well, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Go ahead.
You guys are
Richard.
too worried. Return to Middle Earth coming in 2025. In
you know
tandem
what?
with the new Netflix
Oh no.
That's actually
re-envisioning of
possible.
4
No,
pieces
dude,
of
that's
scraps
totally
found on
possible.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean, isn't there like prequels and sequels to that, The Hobbit or something? I know Lord of the Rings fans are always
they're so bad.
somehow their thousands of pages of books were not enough. They had to have even more. But I
be
think there's a lot
fair-
more Lord of the Rings. Yeah,
the Hobbits. It was like a
yeah.
40-page book. It was a short
Oh.
book. They just
Oh.
somehow Hollywood turned that into 3 movies. So like
all right, we gotta hit up a couple other topics. So one of the other things WotC talked about was Aftermath. So you might remember Aftermath, March of the Machines Aftermath, the little mini pack thing that kind of flopped really hard because people didn't want to pay full price for mini packs and they were really repetitive. Well, it turns out that WotC, I think, really liked the idea of Aftermath because they were planning on doing Aftermath for Outlaws of Thunder Junction, which is the next standard set. But then everyone like freaked out about Aftermath, so they decided not to do it, but instead they put the Aftermath cards into the actual set of Outlaws at Thunder Junction. More importantly, they announced Beyond Boosters. So Beyond Boosters are a product that's coming with the Assassin's Creed Universes Beyond, which at a glance kind of looks like Aftermath packs to me. Am I reading this wrong? So you get 3 foil uncommons, a foil Lander Scene card, a non-foil rare and mythic, a traditional foil, and a booster fun slot card, and then a token. So it's 7 card packs. These packs, Richard, they talked about specifically being designed for modern, where these are modern legal. So if you ever see Beyond Boosters attached to a product, that means these are the modern legal cards for that set. What do you make of this, Richard? What do you make of going back to small packs, but also more direct to modern? Is that good or bad as someone who plays a lot of modern to have, here's Assassin's Creed randomly, 100 card modern set, go?
This is beyond terrible, I think. Like on multiple levels. So as people enfranchised in Magic the Gathering, like, you know, we do it as full-time jobs, we read all the news, we podcast every week. I have no idea what any of these products are. Like what is a set booster, a play booster, a beyond booster, a jumpstart pack, a clue edition? Who knows? Like Wizards has taken this very simple concept of ripping packs and they have somehow screwed it up. Like I wish we went to the Pokemon or One Piece world. There is one booster, everyone buys it, they rip it, and they're happy. Instead of this, like, oh, here's this like $80 booster, but should I buy this $20 booster? And this has 4 cards, this has 16 cards, this has a 8 and 16 chance of being upgraded to a whatever slot. Like this is just way too hard. Just get the same booster so everyone can buy it. Everyone can put it on their wish list. For Christmas, I want Fallout booster box. Done, right? Like instead of like, oh, get a set booster, but not a collector booster, but I got to update this because it's play boosters now, but make sure you don't get the modern legal booster because I only play standard, mom. Please get this right. Like it's too hard. So just simplify it. One booster.
It's pretty funny because I think WotC knows this, because part of the reason to make play boosters was to not have so many booster products. They put like the draft boosters and the set boosters together to minimize because it was too confusing. And now they announced beyond boosters, which I guess are like only for special sets. It's not coming with any set, but it is funny that as they're trying to simplify, they also created another booster product. What do you think of this, Krim? Do you think this will do better than Aftermath did? Do you have any fear that the small pack size is going to lead to the Aftermath issue, or can they solve that somehow and make people happy buying half packs?
Let's just go with this. How much are these going to cost? Right, that's going to be a huge part of it. And then on top of that, what is in here? If you're telling me one of my 8 cards, 7 cards is like, I don't know, a random common, like that's going to be garbage. That's like actually hot garbage. That common better be a common that was upshifted to a mythic at some point, I guess, because that's the main thing. Like what comes inside these packs and how much they are. And I thought we did like the whole reason of play boosters. And I know this is a different kind of thing. It's not the same. It's not meant for drafting and all of that. But I thought the idea of play boosters would be so that there's one booster. There's that, and then there's collectors. Yeah. Right? That's very streamlined. I love that. That's easy to understand. But now there's this weird middle child booster that doesn't I don't really understand what it's doing. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a fan of it. I'd love to see how fresh off the heels of a piping hot mess that was Aftermath, that they would then go, all right, well, we're going to do it again.
Run it back.
Morbius was such a good movie. We're releasing a sequel. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't.
It's the salty run back where you lose. It's terrible, but you just run it back.
I mean, I will say, like, so I don't know. I think the price is the biggest thing. I think Aftermath, you can buy boxes now for around $50 rather than $100, and people are kind of happy with that. Like, if the price took into account the smaller pack size, I think Aftermath would have done okay. It'll be very interesting to see how they price these beyond boosters. I don't have much hope that they're going to price them cheaply, considering it's another IP. It's a Universes Beyond. They're paying someone to use their IP. It's hard for me to imagine they're going to be like, oh, these packs are half price and they're Assassin's Creed. So I'm a little worried that we're going to run into some of those same issues. I will say one thing I really like about this is more new cards going into Modern. I've reached the cat's out of the bag in Modern at this point. Like, there's so many busted cards in Modern and so many powerful cards from Modern Horizons and Lord of the Rings. At this point, we can't get them out of Modern. We're never going to go back to my idyllic world of 2015 Modern. So I think our best bet is just to power creep the last batch of busted cards with more busted cards, and then at least something's fresh and new. What do you think as a Modern player, Richard?
Approach.
Yeah, the Yu-Gi-Oh approach. Are you excited about, here's 100 cards made for Modern entering the format from Assassin's Creed? Or are you like, oh no, this is rotating the format, it's a bad thing?
I mean, I've accepted that the format basically for sure rotates when Modern Horizons 3 comes out, and soft rotates every new set because you never know when Surveil lands are coming. This is terrible for Standard though. Like, I haven't touched Standard since Markov Mana released, and I don't want to because Modern is so fresh and a brewer's paradise or whatever. Like, it's so different that I don't have time to brew 2 formats, so I'll just play Modern, right? Whereas in older years, like Modern would be stale, nothing would change, and I would have to be playing Standard. So direct to modern just makes it the new standard for me, right? Because I don't have the same hurdles as a new player. I have the collection, I have the card knowledge, so I might as well just play this format with more options and more archetypes and whatever. That's just as fresh as standard in my eyes. So like it's kind of just killing standard, I think, by doing this. So I don't know. I'm fine with it, but I don't see why Wizards wants to do this. They should just focus direct into Commander, and then whatever happens just goes through standard. But we're here, so here we are.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. This is going to be a very exciting summer for Modern because we got Modern Horizons 3 and our first Beyond booster. So I'm kind of hyped for it. It's going to be interesting to see. Let's move on, though. We have more to talk about. But before we do, a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by Shopify. We've been using Shopify for years to run our merch store, MTGGoldfishMerch.com. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business, from the launch your online shop stage to our first real-life store stage, all the way to the did a million order stage. Shopify is there to help you grow. Whether you're selling Senate soaps or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout and sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. What's great about Shopify is it works no matter how big you are. From selling your first tokens to handling your huge ebb and flow playmat campaign, everything was a breeze due to Shopify. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US, and Shopify is a global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning help is there to support your success every step of the way, because businesses that grow on Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial at shopify.com/goldfish, all lowercase letters. Go to shopify.com/goldfish now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/goldfish. All right. So, moving on, we had some drama in CEDH. Imagine that, CEDH and drama. Who would have thunk? Krim, I know you brought this up, and I've been talking about it with people on Twitter. What happened with CEDH over the weekend?
I guess there's a tournament for CEDH, so prizes on the line and everything like that. And I guess somebody had the chance or was told the table, hey, I'm not going to win on my turn. Then, oh, wait, I guess I'm just going to win on my turn. And so they did. It was that simple. That's how I read it. I could be wrong. But yeah, like it was kind of interesting, right? Like, so let's just see. We in normal Magic, right? Like, let's just go 1v1. I don't think I ever take into account whatever my opponent says entirely, right? Like I just say, okay, maybe there's some truth to it. But like if my opponent said, hey, if you cast a spell into my open mana, I won't like counterspell you, or I won't board wipe next turn, and then they board wipe me, I'm probably not going to be actually that surprised or pissed about it. But I guess but that's a little bit different, because I guess everybody will then bring up, but Krim, CEDH has a social element to it, right? And that is where I love casual Commander. I enjoy CEDH. I have a CEDH deck. I play it, my Talion deck, right? But even, especially like in CEDH, where you would go to get away from all the drama. I guess there still is it. But I don't think that if it's competitive or if it's a social contract, I mean, if it's competitive, can you have any kind of social contract? Like, does it matter?
I mean, I think you still can, right? There's still norms and expectations. Yeah, I think it's still a social format. I don't think it's morally wrong in this case that the player lied. Like, well, let's get that right. I don't think it's against the rules, and I don't think it's like morally wrong. I wonder if it's actually worth it, though. Like, in this case, you lie, you end up winning the tournament, or making it into the finals, or whatever it ended up being. I think it was before the top 8 or something. But you benefited in this tournament from it. How much does a reputation of being someone who maybe will lie in a game or is untrustworthy in a game, Does that matter, Richard? I think you play the most CDH out of any of us, because that was my first thought. It wasn't like, oh, this is wrong. It was, is this even a good play? Like in the long term, do you come out ahead by playing this way, or do you come out ahead by having the reputation of someone who doesn't do that? What do you think?
I think this is a weird conversation. I'm with Krim in that in a competitive setting where everyone is trying to win and there's actual real consequences, you can't believe anyone. Like you may have like faith in humanity or something, right? It's kind of like just dropping your wallet in the middle of New York and being like, everyone, I'm gonna be back in an hour. Please don't take this. This is my wallet. And like maybe you come back and it's actually there, but probably not, right? And like that's like when there's stuff on the line, you can't really expect this, right? This is CDH. You're in an actual tournament. If someone basically lies to you, like that's what it is, right? Like you need to take that into account. It's kind of like playing prisoner's dilemma or something, right? Like you expect some people to lie, you expect some people not to lie. You probably should just ignore everyone and do what you think is optimal. This is a very strange conversation, and I really think it's akin to rules lawyering. Like if you're playing casually with your friends, probably scumbag move. But if you're at the top 8 of a pro tour, are you allowed to rules lawyer? Right? And then the argument for an actual competitive peerness would be, yes, you should know all the rules and you should be using all of your outs to win. And if you don't know about this interaction, that's on you. You didn't do enough prep. You didn't understand all the rules. Kind of like the Super Bowl where the other team didn't understand how overtime rules worked. Like that's kind of your fault, right? Like that's kind of your fault that you thought the game was ending and you're confused why they're running down the clock. Like that's your fault. So in this case, it's weird because it's a tournament with money on the line. I think you should, if you want to lie, you can lie, but everyone who is listening to the lies should not be listening to it, right? Like Krim said, if my opponent said, I have 2 blue up, I'm not counterspelling you, I'm not believing that for a second in Modern, right? I'm like, maybe you have it, maybe you don't. And you've taken cycles out of my brain because I had to process your thought. So I actually think it's plus EV for you to keep spewing nonsense. This is what Krim does, by the way. You just keep talking. So like you have to spend like a couple seconds processing the nonsense he's saying. And then you're like, oh, just ignore him. But you're distracted. Right? So as long as you can keep spewing out nonsense without distracting your own lines, it's plus EV, right? Like you're just confusing the other person
Richard,
for no reason.
your go.
Yeah. Your go, right? So I don't know. I think it's fair game, especially in a tournament setting with money on the line.
I'm really curious. I would guess that even at the pro level, I bet the other pros would be unhappy with you. I'd be very curious to have some pros chime in, because would that be accepted on that level? Do you just take it as like, hey, it's all fair in love and war, it's a competitive thing? Or is there kind of a taboo or, a norm against like just directly lying to your opponents? I would imagine that there still is. Like, not that it's wrong, but I think people would view it as scummy at least, right? Or I would view it as scummy.
Scummy or not, like it's like tricking somebody to swing into your settle the wreckage in a competitive environment, right? Is it scummy? Is that scummy?
No, did you lie to them?
No,
is there lying involved?
Is lying a legal action?
Apparently. I don't think
that
it's
is not a
rules.
game violation. So
It is not a game violation. So it is,
but like,
right? So do you?
Like, rules lawyering is so fascinating to me. Where do you draw the line? So I posed this to Seth before the podcast. You're in the top 8 of a pro tour, okay? Your opponent presents their deck. You pile shuffle it, count it. It's 59 cards. What do? You call a judge, right?
You have to have 60.
You have to have 60. Right? You scumbag them. That's rules lawyering, right? Like that. Is that not fair game?
Chalice checking? Chalice checking?
Is that not fair game?
I don't know. I've talked to you guys before though, and we've talked about proxies. And I think you've said, oh, like if someone plays a fake card against me in a tournament, I'm not gonna make a big deal about it. Like whatever. Like should you be calling the judge over at every sus looking card to try to get your opponent like a game loss because they're playing a counterfeit or something? Like, is that? Like, I just think it makes the game worse, right? Like, maybe it's, like, legal under the rules, but is Magic better if that's how we play every tournament? Is, like, just constantly calling judges and trying to get the other person DQ'd? Like, that doesn't sound like an experience I'd want to have every weekend.
It may not be the experience how you want to play it, but there are people that would, right? Like, and they have done nothing wrong. I mean, yeah, like maybe I won't call a judge on you for playing the very obvious printed out Tarmogoyf, but, like, maybe the next person will because they don't care percentages, right? And when you go to a tournament setting, I personally, even if it's not my play style, whatever, I'm not going to be cutthroat about things like that, but somebody else might. Did they do anything wrong technically? I don't think so. I don't feel like they did.
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Like it.
Yeah.
So we go back to NFL, right? It's like challenging, right? There should be consequences. If you challenge your opponent and you're wrong, you should have a consequence to that. Otherwise, it should be up to like the tournament organizer to do those challenges. So like a random deck check or something is how you would catch counterfeits. But if you call out someone for having a counterfeit and they do not, then you get the reverse
You get the game
of
loss.
that, right?
You
you
get the
don't
loss.
bog the game down.
Ooh.
Right? You don't
Okay,
bog the
okay.
game down for no reason. But it really should be
Okay.
tournament organizers should be the ones doing the deck checks and searching for counterfeits and whatnot. But like, if you're about to lose the Pro Tour, you know, and your opponent has an obviously fake card, and you know that will win the game, do you not call it? Like, if you're winning already, you're like, I don't want to take the asterisks, I don't want to take the flag, but I'm losing, and the difference is like 20K in prize money and a Pro Tour win on my resume. Do you not be like, yo, that Hazard at the Fervent looks sus? Are you sure you bought it from this vendor?
Oh, boy, that's tough. Is it worth the reputation though? Is it worth the 20 grand? Is it worth being that guy for the next 10 years? Like, that's the
I mean,
question.
You're I'm essentially thinking, are they wiping their tears with the money they've just won? Like
Right?
Right?
You gotta
Like,
do discreetly. You gotta call a judge to the side and whisper to them,
Yeah.
such that people don't know what you've done. And
They
the
don't
judge
know.
will be like,
Time for a random deck check. Right? And then you get away with it scot-free without people knowing that you instigated
There you
it.
go. Yeah, that's I guess that's the way to do it.
But to
Well,
tie it
if-
back, like, is this not just like why you shouldn't throw prizes into some of this stuff, or like make a separate format for like CDH? I guess is a separate format, but like this is why I think sanctioned events need to happen, right? Like these need to be sanctioned events, and
There's
and
definitely
also,
challenges with tournament commander, right? Like just
Right.
poor players, politics, like all that stuff is very awkward in a tournament setting. So I think it does illuminate that issue that we've talked about before. I don't know what the solution is. Do you think it's just sanctioning Krem? Would that improve it?
it'd be at least a step in the right direction. But then,
Yeah.
then
That's not
like,
of a
in the
lying. Though. Lying is
situation-
totally within the rules, right?
Yeah,
This
like,
is, this is a
but-
meta. This is a meta call, right?
Exactly. So since lying is not in the rules, then it's just like boom, right there. Okay, well that you have it right there in print, if you would. If like the judge comes over and says they have done nothing wrong, at the to like just completely wrap it up, they have done technically nothing illegal, and that's
Yeah.
I
what you
guess,
need is your
fine.
mom to come judge you.
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you done something wrong, little Cribby? Have you done think about how you have made others feel today? Have you done something wrong?
No,
Oh.
mom.
Well, if you're watching this, I'm very curious what you think. Is lying fair game in a competitive setting? I would love to hear what other people think in the comments, but we got to move on because we have some spoilers to talk about. So first, I mean, we do have Fallout coming, and we'll get to that in a minute. There's a new Secret Lair coming out, though, in honor of Sheldon Menery. So Sheldon, the godfather of Commander, passed away last year. There's a Secret Lair drop that Sheldon actually helped design before he passed away, that there's going on sale. Half the proceeds are going to the American Cancer Society, which is a great way to have some good come out of a hard situation. What do you guys think of this lair drop? Does it do Sheldon justice, and is it worth picking up?
So 7 cards in the Secret Lair. Teferi's Protection, oh man, you Edamami's Vineyard.
Eladamri?
Eladamri's Vineyard. Bene Supremo, that's great or good, I believe, in Italian. Ink Shield, Ruhan of the Fomori, Soul Ring Command Tower, and Ruhan is actually has the out of universe Sheldon the commander name for that. Those are the 7 cards. No bonus card.
And available in rainbow foil and non-foil. $50
Is there-
foil, $40 non-foil.
$40 non-foil, $50 foil. I mean, from a value perspective, this seems like a really solid layer drop. Teferi's Protection's like 40 or 50 bucks now, depending on the printing. Eladrami's Vineyard is like $5. Ink Shield's like 20 bucks. So just that, I think, makes it worth the $40 price point. So I think you're getting fair value out of this and some pretty staple-y cards that you'll use, like especially Teferi's Protection. You'll use in pretty much any white deck can play it. What do you think of this one, Krim? Are you in for the Sheldon drop? Are you going to be picking it up?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be picking it up. You know, like it's nice to I love that like some of the proceeds is going to Sheldon, and on top of that, it's got some sweet Sheldon art, right? Like, so why not? And it comes with some sweet cards.
So there's a little criticism on the internets, like there tends to be about everything. But the criticism was basically someone stated that they felt like this was profiting off Sheldon's death or something, and it was improper, and they should be donating 100% of the proceeds to charity. Otherwise, it's essentially, ghoulish in some way. What do you think of that? Is 50% of the proceeds, is that fair enough for a charity layer drop, or is there any argument that it needs to be 100%?
I mean,
people complain about everything. I mean, it
is
does
the internet
cost
and
wizards
magic.
Time and money. They specifically stated 50% of the product price. So not 50% of the profit, but of the product price. So I think that's fair. Like, they had to spend time and money to do this, right? And they didn't have to do this. And the proceeds are going to the American Cancer Society. And Sheldon had a role in this. So this was clearly planned ahead of time. So I think it's fair. I don't know. People just want to complain you can't do anything good, right? Because anything can be construed in a negative manner. I think this is very fair, and they priced this well for players. Like, they're not trying to gouge us or anything. Like, it seems like an actual celebration and honoring of Sheldon's legacy. So I don't know. I think it's fine, but
I'm sure you can come up with some issue or some problem with this if you really wanted.
Also, Jim from the Spike Feeders, who has kind of made a comment on it as well. But like, he was pretty much mentioning that this was going to be released even if Sheldon hadn't passed, because he had already worked on it. Like, this was already being worked on.
Yeah, hearing that Sheldon was a part of it, and I guess he like helped choose the cards, helped with the art, like other than apparently like the flavor text, he was involved in like the entire process of the layer drop. That made me pretty comfortable with it. Like, if I didn't know that, maybe I'd feel differently. If WotC was just like, hey, this popular person in our game passed away, let's make a layer drop, maybe that could come across weird. But knowing that Sheldon like helped design this, I think really makes it come across as something that's just there to honor him. So I think it's perfectly fine, and I'm glad WotC did it. I think that's a nice way to honor someone that had a huge impact on the game. So anyway, that's a layer drop. That's going on sale, I want to say February 29th, maybe February 26th. That's going on sale. We also have Fallout spoilers. Only a few cards. Tomorrow is the big kickoff, but we might as well talk about them. Richard, why don't you guide us through some spoilers?
All right, Fallout previews. So Universes Beyond, obviously. Let's start off with Preston Garvey, Minuteman. 2 red, green, white. 5 mana value, 4/4. At the beginning of combat, on your turn, create a green aura enchantment token named Settlement attached to up to 1 target land you control. It has enchant land, and enchanted land has tap, add 1 mana of any color. When Preston Garvey attacks, untap each enchanted permanent you control. Something about settling lands in Fallout. Who knows anything about Fallout? Seth, you played Fallout. Does this make any sense?
I have played Fallout. Yeah, there's a bunch of settlements in Fallout. You're kind of in the post-apocalyptic wasteland, going from settlement to settlement. So flavor-wise, I don't remember this exact character. I didn't remember Fallout that well. But flavor-wise, I think it makes a lot of sense. The ability's kind of interesting. At first, I was disappointed, and I was kind of hoping it'd be like a fertile ground effect, something that made the land tap for more mana, because all it really does is turn the land into like a city of brass, right? It doesn't make more mana, it just lets the land tap for any color. But then I was thinking about it, and it made me think this might be like the perfect Richard card, like your Maze of Is and your Glacial Chasms and all these lands that don't actually make mana. This is a way you can play those lands and actually make mana with them, right? Kind of like an Urborg or something, and then you can double up the mana by attacking with your commander. I think there's like a cool way to build a deck around this in Commander, actually. So now I'm actually a little hyped about it. No Glacial Chasms.
I mean, it's a Yavimaya Cradle of Growth plus a Sword of Feast and Famine, where you don't need to attack. Now, granted, you can enchant like an artifact or something and it untaps it, so it's a little better than Feast and Famine, but it's like one of those effects. So whatever combo you have, like for example, aggravated assault combo, like works with this commander. I don't know about this enchantment thing though. I also like to play Farewell, and this kind of undoes your combo. Um, but I don't know. When you can settle all your lands, should you settle other people's land though? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't think
Like,
you even can, right? It's a
Yeah.
one land that you control, so I don't think you actually can settle an opponent's land.
Should I be playing Civilization because I want to conquer other people's lands,
Yeah, it
not
is.
my own
It
lands?
is. Yeah. I don't know why you do that gameplay wise, but flavor wise, it would make sense that you could go after someone else's land. What do you think of this one, Krim? I know it's not really your color combination, but what do you think of this in Commander?
It's definitely very cool design. I think it's pretty interesting. In that sense, I don't like that the commander costs 5 mana. Have I just been? Am I just numb now to anything? If they're 5+ mana, they aren't just like winning the game on the spot. Like, I guess like this is still pretty cool though. I can't speak to it flavor wise because I don't know the games. I played a little bit of New Vegas and that was about it. And that was like a month or two ago, and that's as much as I remember. So, I like as a card, this seems interesting. Like it can definitely do some more of what green already does. So I'm curious to see how it plays out in action. But like, hey, happy that
It's also an enchantment each turn. Maybe is this an enchantress commander? Is that how you play it? Like constellation stuff? So you're like just constantly generating an enchantment for free. Maybe that's the actual direction you go with this.
As Tomer has shown us, you just make everything an Enchantress deck, and it's way better.
It's true.
All right, Agent Frank Horrigan, 7 mana Golgari, so 5 black green, 8/6 legendary creature, mutant warrior, trample. It has indestructible as long as it attacked this turn. When it ETBs or attacks, proliferate twice.
It's a lot of proliferating.
I'm worried for the power level of the set.
I mean,
a 7 mana 8/6?
I mean, 7
only
8/6,
indestructible when it attacks.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So only on offense is it indestructible. Although I guess you can like attack with it in post combat main phase Wrath and it'll survive because it gets it for the rest of the turn as long as it attacked, right? As long as it attacked this turn. I think this is like, it's good, right? Is it not? Is it good? Krim, you play Super Friends. Would you play this in a Super Friends stack?
No.
Like, double proliferate. It's formatted like a Titan, right? So you can attack with it too. Put the Greaves on it. 4 proliferates in one turn. That's gonna ultimate some planeswalkers.
No, I would rather just play Radstorm, right? Like because then it's not attached to an 8/6 or 7.
Yeah.
I don't know. This one seems kind of weak. Probably better. Like sounds like it'll be great for people that are fans of the franchises, but I mean, to me, it just currently looks kind of weak.
Maybe Garth. I might play it in Garth. I think if I was like a Golgari Super Friends deck, I might play it. What about +1/+1 counters? Like double proliferating is a strong effect, isn't it? Or not? It's just 7 mana.
You paid 7 mana for it though, right? You paid
That
a
you
lot
have
of
to
mana
attack
for this
with.
double proliferate.
Or I guess
Well, ETBs. It ETBs.
Yeah.
So like Seth said, you could theoretically get 4 proliferates if you have Greaves on. So I can see it as a combo piece in Super Friends or something, but it's like, I don't know, putting the Chain Veil in a Fair deck. Like it does nothing, right? Like if you're gonna Super Friends combo, then sure, but 7 mana is a lot to double proliferate. I feel you could use 7 mana to achieve that effect with with an easier card. Like I don't know, like just spend a couple more mana and play Rise of Dark Realms and call it a day. Like it's it's a little difficult.
Yeah,
What
I
is
can't
a
imagine
rad
playing this
counter?
as a commander either. What was that, Krim?
what is a rad counter? Because that does do we know what that is yet in the set?
A rad counter?
What is
Yeah.
what do you even what card is this
Where
from?
is that text? Yeah.
Okay, so example, I don't know if you remember the card Feral Ghoul or so, like it's just whenever it dies, each opponent gets a number of rad counters equal to its power.
Oh,
Oh,
so I
we
don't
don't
think we know that yet. I wouldn't
Okay.
be surprised. Could it be just poison? Could they just be rewording poison?
I mean,
essentially,
isn't
because it's
that what Fallout
radiation,
is?
right? And
Yeah.
then, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
radiation. You're getting poison, so it would make the most sense if it was poison and they just gave it a flavorful word for the set. But I don't think we've actually got confirmation on that yet. There's also an artifact token we haven't seen before, a junk token, which I don't think we know what a junk token is either. But those are also going to be in the set.
Yeah, because like if it's just poison, then like, you know, like, well, I guess I'd still just play Radstorm, right? Because Radstorm just seems exactly what you would want in anything that cares about proliferation. And it's 4 mana. And for those
So
that don't know, it's
Radstorm-
just 3 in blue, a
Yeah.
storm, and proliferate. It's instant speed.
That sounds like a crimp card.
I mean, I think you'd play. So I don't know. In a infect deck or a poison deck, maybe Agent Frank is worth it. It's like, how expensive do you want your proliferates to be, right? So if you're willing to pay this much just for the proliferate kill, then I guess. But it's unexciting. They should have made it a bigger body or something. I don't know anything about Fallout lore, but 8/6 trample is kind of sus. And then it needs to attack too, so you need the greaves, you need the combo piece. It's actually a lot of work for this 2 proliferates for 4 proliferates. We have an equipment, T45 power armor, 2 mana equipment. When it ETBs, you get 2 energy. Good old energy. Equipped creature gets +3/+3 and doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may pay 1 energy. If you do, untap equipped creature and put your choice of a menace, trample, or lifelink counter on it. Equip 3.
So the
This
flavor
is
on
a
this
rare.
card's kind of well, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the new cards are going to be rare, but it doesn't feel very powerful. I think the flavor is kind of good. Like this armor, it was armor that was in the set that was like powerful, but it was also like pretty clunky and like hard to move in. So I think that's the flavor they're trying to like get across in this card, where the creature doesn't untap. As far as power level though, this is just like stone unplayable, right? Like, if somehow you're an energy equipment deck, I guess I could see it, but I don't think that is a thing that exists at this point. Like, would you ever play this card, Richard? You play a lot of equipments. Is this better than I think?
So of note, when you do the thingy, when you pay the energy, you get the keyword counter onto the creature. So if this artifact goes away or you move it, you can keep it. Having said that, that's a lot of mana, and you need energy too. So you got to actually play some energy enablers. I am starting to question the power level of this set. Did Warhammer look this terrible? Like, so far, I've read these cards and I'm like, whoa, this is looking rough. Like, even if I wanted to play this card, it's very difficult to make work. It should have been equipped for free or something, right? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, maybe 2 or 1 even. Like, equip for 3 is a high number. Like, and you're only getting +3/+3. I guess, like, if you're an energy deck, you can, it's so much mana still, right? You can be getting one of those counters on a creature each turn, Menace, Trample, or Lifelink. But even in that case, you got to move it around most likely. 3 mana to move around is just so much.
I just
Would you
play
play it in a-
Sword. It's the same amount of mana, but like has actual things going on instead of requiring you to have energy as well, in addition to doing all these things.
Yeah, I feel like this card's actually pretty underpowered. I'm a little worried about, I mean, this is early spoilers though. Tomorrow's the big kickoff, so they're probably not showing us the most busted cards yet, but these 3 cards, not very exciting power level wise.
Yeah, I mean, that suit of armor definitely does not feel great, but maybe it plays better with whatever deck it's in, because it clearly seems that that's going to be in some kind of proliferation deck.
There is an energy theme deck, so an energy artifact theme deck. So I'm imagining it's in there, which it is better if you have a consistent source of energy. Like, at least you're able to untap something each turn using your energy, which is nice.
You'll get like Ether Hub, all of that as well, and the proliferations will be nice. I kind of wish this artifact gave like hexproof or something, right? Because then this way you could at least protect it.
Speaking of protection, we have one more card that I gotta bring up, because this card, oh my god,
almost perfect. It turns out the armor in Fallout is not very good. Okay, so this is a 6 mana Selesnya enchantment. It's a suit of armor. Okay, it looks like this one's for you, Krim. It looks like full Metal Alchemist here. Enchantment aura. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has base power and toughness 9/10 and has indestructible.
I love the flavor of that. If that's it, if it's what I think it is, right? It is a 9 out of 10, right? Which is a almost perfect 10 out of 10 score.
That's actually, yeah, and that's what your armor was called. So when you got your armor up to 9 out of 10, it was almost perfect is what the game called it. So the flavor like kind of is really good again, but this card's horrible, right? Like indestructible don't mean a thing in 2024. We're living in Sunfall Farewell world, and would you even play this in an aura deck? It's 6 mana. It's 6 mana. Like, I don't know, maybe you can one shot with your commander or something. Would this ever show up in a commander deck, Richard?
Yeah, you
I'm just saying,
but you can also just scale up too for 1 mana.
In fact, there you go.
In fact, I think that there has to be maybe these rad counters, because again, you had mentioned rad counters would make sense as poison.
Yep.
Now, if you have infect in this deck, a lot of people are going to be upset there's infect, but now they are pretty much dead.
You really need hexproof here. This is where I would say.
Yeah.
But then it's like annoying. Like you don't want to make boggles good. But like this is like you still get swords, like only the most popular removal in the format, right? You still get got by any sweeper, and you can always remove the armor. Like let's say you have generous gift, you just kill the almost perfect, right? You don't need to kill the creature. You kill the almost perfect, and then you ambush block whatever is attacking or whatever, right? So I'm worried, Seth. Are these cards going to be
There's
playable?
a lot of time left. These cards would be good.
I mean, I don't think these cards that we just talked about are especially powerful, but
it's almost perfect.
But not quite. It's missing that one.
It's one of the highest power. There's only one card above it. That's the perfect card. This is the almost perfect card of the set, guys.
If it had that one extra 1 out of 10, it would protect against generous gift. Almost so close. I feel like this deck is going to go up from here. I still have a lot of faith with Wizards designing these like Secret Lair commander decks. Although, I guess Doctor Who though, so I didn't like Doctor Who, but that wasn't because I thought the cards were bad. I just didn't like the IP that much, but they have a pretty good track record with these. So at this point, like day 0.5 of spoiler season, not even full spoiler season yet, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for now. I think we'll see some better cards in the future, but it is true that these cards are not really jumping off the page with their power.
Dogmeat Everloyal was awesome. And that was revealed a while back. It's just, and I'm excited to play that.
I mean, we'll see. So tomorrow at 1 Eastern time, I believe, is the kickoff spoiler stream. We're going to see a ton of cards, and then they're spoiling stuff a deck a day for the rest of the week. So we will have the full answer on Fallout soon. But for now, good flavor stuff, but power level we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, I think that brings us to the end of our cast for today. No fish mail, but Richard, we might get to it next week. So where should people send in their fish mail questions?
All right, send your questions to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 472 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So Richard, Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. And we'll be back next week to talk about Fallout and whatever else goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have an amazing week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.